Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Oh, welcome to Tell the Damn Story. I'm Chris Ryan. That's Alex Simmonss, the legend over there, the mystery over here. And we are here, both of us, decades of writing experience. And of course, we talk about different writing challenges to make your writing journey just a little smoother. And we have special help for this episode tonight. So if you will let me, I will introduce our guests right away. How's that sound, Alex?
So get to it.
Yes, sir. So first we have the one and only Lara Frater. And she is an author and a librarian. She grew up and lives in Queens, New York, which, while technically part of New York City, is half suburbia, half city. There you go. She writes long and short horror, sci-fi and dystopia, nonfiction, and essays about being fat, library science, and also poetry. Her short stories have appeared in Tales from the Canyon of the Damned, Soul Scream Anthologine, which we've heard about once or twice, and Necrotic Tissue. She's the author of the paranormal suspense series, Paranormal Pest Control, a great read, by the way. The zombie series, End of the Line, which I just got my hands on. The monster series, Miss Davis and the Movie Monsters. And the nonfiction book, Fat Chicks Rule. Her essay, Fat Heroines in Chicklet, appeared in the Fat Studies Reader. She's also had essays and poetry published. In her spare time, she works as a medical librarian, plays a half-orc named Prissy in a D&D campaign, wants to read more, and loves movies. She lives in a noisy part of Queens with her husband, some author named John Frater. Hopefully we get to talk about him a little bit.
I know, really.
And an assorted weird family. She is an affiliate member of the Horror Writers Association. Welcome, Lara Frater. How are you?
Well, after that long weekend, I'm good.
Also, it's Frater.
Frater. What did I say? Frater? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's it's
Frater. I'm sure he's used to it.
Many years in France. That's what it is. I'm so bilingual.
Oh la la, Frater.
Yeah. Alex knows for a fact that it's just the limits of my Bronx accent.
Education.
Mispronounce everything. Well, I actually did. I had a pretty good education, but it may not have taken. So there is another one on screen. Some other person on screen. A mystery. Let's see who he is. John Frater is an academic library director by day, a sci-fi writer by night, and an old school gamer with 30+ years of experience reviewing, writing, designing, and playing video games and tabletop RPGs, as well as fiction, nonfiction, articles, and blogs. He's worked as a game writer, reviewer, and developer, cranked out countless game and book reviews, and tried his hand at writing for the screen and audio. He has published short works for the Future Chronicles and Tales from the Canyon of the Damned series, and published longer works in the Legends of Legacy Fleet series by way of Desperate Measures Press. His Battle Ring Earth and Crisis of Command military fiction series are published by Atheon Books. Please correct me there. Renegade Imperium represents his first foray into A.K. Dubois Catical universe. I feel like I've screwed up 72 words. John, can you please translate what I was trying to say?
Okay, Atheon Books is the current publisher for sci-fi stuff. Amy Dubois was my co-writer on the Catical books, which is the latest set of the stuff I'm done. It's her universe. I'm just playing in it. The last name is pronounced Frater.
There we go.
What was that one you didn't mention, Chris?
Well represented.
Okay.
The one thing that was not mentioned, John Frater,
there we go,
is that you are co-host of Horror Words.
I am indeed co-host of Horror Words.
Yes,
I'm the one that keeps Chuck Baruch on point
that's
and prepared for every show.
yes, a podcast that you were foolish enough to bring Alex and I on not too long ago,
We were
or
there.
shortly in the future. I'm not
Yes.
sure. Not
We got
sure
to
when
see
this
what
one will be
Alex's back
posted.
room looks like. It was actually kind of neat. Watching him going pull his old comics out, that was terrific.
Yeah, that was cool. Yep.
What a lengthy bio for both of you, which obviously means that you guys don't sleep. You know, I don't even know when you have time to feed the cats, who we met, by the way. Their security brigade is in the room with them, so they're protected. But I'm just curious, because I know Chris said I'm going to throw a question now and then. I have to ask, how do you choose what you want to write about? Because both of you have touched on some eclectic material or material that you boldly put forth. And I don't always hear people boldly putting those particular things forward.
I don't pick what I want to write. It picks me.
Always?
Almost always.
How does that feel?
I mean, the prompt will inspire me. I've never sit down going, I'm going to write the story about this. It's always something prompts me to write a story. And it could just be a publisher going, I'm looking for stories about this. And I'm like, oh, that's a prompt. And I'll start writing a story about that.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, occasionally I come up with something and I decide to do something completely different. The Battle Ring books have as one of the main characters is a benevolent AI that was designed by an alien race and has decided that Earth is its new home and is trying to defend humanity as best it can. And I'm thinking, okay, what does it look like to have a malevolent AI? And so I'm working on a story about that right now on a much more limited scale, but I'm trying to play with all senses of morality and ethics and whatever else I can cram into 5,000 words. So that's just something weird. And it's also an introductory to a universe I'm trying to develop right now that I got interested in after working on the Catechol books because Amy DeVoff's world is very clearly defined. She sent me a really complete writing Bible when I started sending her ideas for that. And it's got very specific things that have to happen in a very complete timeline. And I thought, I need something completely different because the Battletech books are one thing and I want to do something completely different. So I'm saying, okay, how do I combine hardcore science with cinematic oomph, and that's what I'm working on right now. So I don't even have a name for this thing.
How is it working for you?
I have a setting Bible completed. I'm working on characters now. I've started 2 or 3 short stories in the universe to get a feel for how things work and who I want to talk about. So I think it's gaining steam like at a subconscious level. So with any luck, I'll have a bunch of books out next year. We'll see. 2 or 3 per year seems to be my limit. So if I could do 3 books by this time next year, I'll consider it a success.
We named a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of names for me, and I know for some of the audience, it's like a lot of names.
We'll get to those, but we owe the viewers an explanation of what the hell we're doing.
I'm not sure either.
This episode, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of we noticed the Fraters. Is that correct? Have no confidence in the last name now. The Fraters work on various different things, but of course, a married couple. And one of the things we wanted to talk about was how that dynamic works. So we will, if you hang out with us for a while, we'll get to that eventually. But what we want to do now is kind of dive in to what they do. And then we're going to get to the how
they do it.
So, yes, let's talk about a few of these things. Alex, who would you like to go first?
Like Lara to go first.
Lara, well, you know what? I'm going to ask a question for both of them, and then we'll go to Lara. Both of you have worked for Tales from the Canyon of the Damned. And that's a magazine type publication with one of the longest titles I've ever seen. But it's a fascinating publication. Could you two of you talk a little bit about that as kind of a jumping off point?
Starting with Lara.
I'm on the spot. No, so Tales from the Canyon of the Damned is a anthology that's put out, periodically, with different. It's usually about 4 stories of horror, and I've been in it 3 times or 4 times. I lost count. 4 times, and it's just all different kind of horror. Sometimes sci-fi, but it's all more darker stories.
So it tends to be darker lit of different
Yeah, it's a
genres.
lot. Yeah, but I write a lot of some humor, so it's like kind of dark, but a little bit of humor.
Right.
What do you mean by dark?
Well, one of my stories is about my favorite one is called The Real Estate Market, which was one of the first short stories I had published, where this family is looking for a house and they see an ad for a house that just seems too good to be true and is very cheap. So they have a house, and the house is beautiful. It has a pool. It's got a bunch of bedrooms. It's got a suite. It's got a bathroom suite. It's gorgeous. So they're trying to figure out. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but it was published like 10 years ago, so I think it's okay to publish it. And then they essentially find out something is wrong with this house, and essentially what it is there's a meat closet. There's a closet that bursts open, and something inside screams meat, and you have to throw a couple of pounds of meat in there to satisfy whatever creatures in there. So they decide to keep the house because they need to have it's really
Worth
cheap.
the meat. Worth the meat.
And
Yeah.
then all I have to do is buy some meat like once a month and throw it into the closet.
There you go.
5 boroughs that would not buy a house because it had a meat closet if the price was right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, there you go. Lara is the queen of real estate horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
or at least
Queens.
2 real estate horror stories.
That's right. John, what's your experience of that publication?
Well, for one thing, I know where the publisher Dan Smith lives, so that gives me an in. So we can talk about and he and I have been in contact online for years, and we've always been part of the same indie writing group. We've got friends in common, we've got projects in common. I inherited one of his old projects for a publisher that ultimately did not withstand the test of time. And those 2 books I published on my own as the New York City Expocalypse, where the apocalypse is brought upon New York City through cursed steak knives. I'm actually rather proud of that one. Links to it are on my website, and you can actually buy those for a song and a dance. Let's see, I've sent him a bunch of stories. There's one called Soul Survivor, which is about a guy who's living in an abandoned office building after the end of the world. There's one where a bunch of how a small town reacts to the fact that a bunch of aliens have decided that the moon is a hazard to navigation, and are in the process of demolishing it. There's bits and pieces like that, and I can't remember every single one, but that's where my brain tends to go, writing bizarre things that seem a little bit normal, but are not really.
I have to confess, I had wanted to somehow work in a mention of Tales from the Canyon of the Damned for a long time. And the 2 of you were the first time I could do it organically. It just seems like a cool publication. So, Dan, I hope you like the little plug. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get Tales from the Canyon of the Damned. Amazon, a few other places, I would imagine.
Amazon, and there's omnibuses, so you can buy like multiple issues at once.
I think it's up to 9 omnibuses by now. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Those of you who are looking for a Christmas gift and you bought all of Soul Scream Anthologine, well, here you go. Get an omnibus of Tales from the Canyon of the Damned, and make sure it's got Lara and John Frater in it. There you go. All right. So
buy the other issues too, and buy our books also.
There you go. That's right. Here's a few other things for your holiday stockings, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope we post this before the holidays. So, Lara, I want to talk to you for a second about paranormal pest control. I've recently read it. We are in a writers group together. Thank you for getting me in there. Between you and Chuck, I've talked about it a lot on Tell the Damn Story. I think it's very useful. But paranormal pest control, it's got a location with the best name ever.
The location is called Broken Brooklyn, and it is a small radius of Brooklyn near Atlantic Avenue that has been taken over by demons and demonic bugs. There was an earthquake.
Oh, just another day in Brooklyn. No.
Yeah, there was an earthquake. There was an earthquake in this part of Brooklyn, just localized just to these couple of blocks, and the earth opened and into another dimension, and demons and everyone who was who was a little bit psychic became very psychic. So people are psychic. There's demonic bugs. There's demons possessing bugs, and it's all kind of fun.
And
It's a lighthearted story too.
there's a lot of humor in it. Yeah, well, the thing that gives you an arc for an adventure, but also a lot of humor, is that there are pest control professionals who have just adapted to this broken Brooklyn situation, and they do paranormal pest control. So can you talk a little bit? I just thought that was such a fun idea. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so after this happens, there's three main characters, and essentially it's two old school exterminators who deal with, regular bugs and stuff, and got involved with this psychic woman named Jenny. They decide to work together to deal with anyone who has this infestation of demonic bugs. So they do a little bit of everything. One of the guys has the bug vac, and essentially it's a vacuum cleaner that vacuums up bugs, but there's a demonic anti-demon seal inside the vac. So when he vacuums up the bugs, the demons all get pulled out, and it just kills all the bugs. So it gets rid of the bugs and it gets rid of the demons.
Now, it's that kind of fun all the way through. However, there is a growing demonic threat throughout, a big bad, to quote Buffy or whatever, that helps build tension, and it to a very effective climax and all that sort of stuff. So how did you, Lara, manage that delicate balance between the humorous premise and very traditional horror trope element? How'd you mix and match? How did you develop this? What was your process?
Yeah, funny that you should mention Buffy, because that's probably my biggest inspiration as far as horror humor, where it's kind of very serious. I mean, Buffy deals with very serious issues,
Yes,
but also
yes.
with a lot of humor. So that's definitely one of my biggest influences. Started writing that book after I wrote the zombie series, which has no humor at all. And it's really devastating. And then I said, I wanna write something a little more humorous. But I also kind of want to get that Buffy feel where it's kind of like serious, but also kind of lighthearted.
Yeah, it does. It definitely walks that tightrope very well.
Yeah,
And there's a sequel coming, right?
yes, I'm working on the sequel right now. It's tentatively titled "The Dark Thing in the Cemetery," about a dark that just wanders the cemetery and the neighborhood and walks to Brooklyn and back, but it's also eating ghosts. So there's ghosts, there's demons, there's demonic bugs, there's people with psychic powers. The world has completely changed, and there's actually 4 books in the series. If it works out that way, I've written 4 books, but 2 books are in very, very, very rough draft. The second one I'm working on right now, I took a break from them because I was working on the Miss Davis series for Raventail Publishing. So that one I was working on that, and then I went back to Paranormal Pest Control, going, I got to put book 2 out.
Okay. Now I'm gonna get back to process later about how you go from very rough to publishable. But since you mentioned Miss Davis and the Movie Monsters, and that's for Raventail Press, as you just mentioned, tell us a little bit about it.
So that was a books I wrote contract for. There's supposed to be 3. I'm waiting for the second 2 to be published, but they haven't been published yet. Essentially, this is a novella. Starts off in 1962, where they're filming a B movie in the Pine Barrens and find out the Jersey Devil is real. And this is also humor horror. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun doing it. I learned a lot about living in the 1960s and what was invented and what was not invented. The main character is really into music, and she can only have she has a heavy radio or a record player. There's no cassette tapes, there's no portable radios, there's not portable radios. She has a radio that's lighter that she got for it was $16, which was a fortune back then.
Oh yeah.
So essentially, they're in the Pine Barrens. It's like early September. It's very hot, and they're filming this movie about the Jersey Devil. And of course, the Jersey Devil exists. But I don't want to spoil too much of the story. But
Okay, so
it's more the
Mi-
villains are more than just the Jersey Devil. So
all right, Miss Davis and the movie Monsters. So if that
so the first one is
tantalized
called
you,
yeah
go
the
and get
first
it.
one's called Jersey Devils, and then the next one is called Campfire Vampires.
Oh, okay, very
Yeah, and
cool.
then there's a third one called Viva Moth Vegas.
See, humor. There you go,
Yeah,
Alex.
so
You
this
have
Here's the thing. You said something, Laura, you said something about no portable radios or anything like that because they weren't invented or certain things weren't invented at a certain time. You're saying this took place in 1964?
62. So essentially, there were portable radios, but they were very expensive.
Like
Okay,
transistor
that's
radios.
because I know transistor radios
yeah,
came
and
out in
then
the
but
50s.
there was no cassette tapes.
No
Well,
cell
oh, no,
phones.
definitely
Oh,
not. But you had
definitely no cell
transistor
phones.
radios.
Yeah,
That was
no,
a portion of my era there.
she was very big that she picked up from Gimbals a transistor radio for like
Okay.
$16, and it was a fortune, and she spent her whole paycheck
oh
on
yeah.
it.
You could
Yeah,
get a pair of sneakers for $12, and they were like great sneakers. So yeah, no,
yeah.
$16 was real
Oh no,
money.
yeah,
And the median wage in the United States, median salary was like $8,000, and a car would cost you about 4,000 of those. You could
Right.
buy a house for $15,000 in
That's
most
right.
cities.
yeah. No,
Mm.
I had to research a lot of the prices, like how much food was, how much this was. And the whole thing is they're filming a B movie, and they get kind of caught inside a B movie, so that's why the humor comes in. So it's a little bit. So some of the director is like out of his mind and weird.
Let's talk about maybe one other project that you have.
Terribly personal, but I am so fascinated. Again, in your bio, 3 times you mention fat. So I really wanted to understand how you came about, and how you approach that and what it means to you.
Yeah. So I wrote Fat Chick's Rule. It's old. It's almost 20 years since I wrote it. I was very much like because I'm a big girl, and I've been that way since I was a child. And I spent 20 years dieting and trying to gain weight and trying to lose weight, which required me to I lost weight and then I would regain the weight and then plus more. So I
Ah,
essentially dieted my way to higher weights. And
that's the cycle.
after I was having so much health issues from all this chronic dieting, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So, and I just said I have to kind of live with the body I have, even if it
You
gives me
decided to
issues.
own. So you decided to own it.
Yeah, I decided to own it. So I do a thing like I don't like going. I don't want to shame anyone for how they want their body to be, but I couldn't deal with the self esteem issues from trying to be thin when it was quite obvious my body wasn't meant to be that way.
Mm,
So I
Well,
did
I
my
mean,
best to start to start eating healthy and exercising and not worrying about the number of the scale.
good. And then how
excellent,
did you get
excellent
into because it was
writing about it.
Well, I got I got a author to write Fat Chicks Rule from a small publisher, and then like that kind of opened it up, and I networked with a lot of other people, and that's how I ended up writing the essay. That's my big scholarly essay. Even though I have articles I write it because I'm a librarian, so I write articles about that too, and I've written chapters about that. But I said I just kind of like as I wrote the book, I started meeting more people.
mm,
There's some great, like very positive books out there. I actually picked up a book. That book is like 26 years old, but it's still a great book called oh, I forgot the name. It's called Fat, uh, comma. I'm sorry, Fat question mark. So with the question
Exclamation
by
point.
Marilyn Wan, who I'm friends with
Okay.
on Facebook, and she is a huge inspiration. So like that kind of like led one thing to another, and I wrote my book with that kind of inspiration.
Excellent.
And yeah, I don't write as much about it anymore. Younger people are doing it, so I'm just letting
Yeah.
them do it. I'm
Right.
just sticking to the horror now.
Now, does your librarian writing persona spend a lot of time hanging out with your fiction writing persona? Does it, or
I
should never the twain shall meet, or how does that work?
yeah, I kind of have to keep them separately because for academic writing, you have to
Mhm.
be a little bit more. I guess I don't want to say dry, but you have to be a little bit more.
Serious.
It's dry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's dry.
But you
it's
have to be a
academic.
little more academic, where you have
Yes,
to
that's
be
where I would
careful.
go
You
with
can't.
that.
You essentially have to be careful about like putting yourself in the story or
Yes,
putting.
so learned.
Yeah.
Much.
You kind of have to
Sharon is
explain.
learned.
Yeah.
News is supposed to be presented from time to time.
That's
Gee,
exactly how the news should be
interesting.
presented.
How
Right.
interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Now, John.
Yeah.
John, you have a split
The first time I
personality.
tried writing an academic paper for my library, it took half a dozen tries and a lot of comments. And eventually the director went to my boss and said, never let John write anything ever again.
Wow. Okay, we'll find that guy for you.
So, library writing is not really something you do?
I've got a bunch of papers and book chapters to my credit. I haven't written anything academic for a while, though. I really should be getting more into that.
Actually, if you want to have something funny, we both have chapters in the library textbook. Yeah, I wrote a chapter on weeding. He wrote a chapter on security.
Yeah. Yes.
I've known each other for 30 years. We met in undergrad and college.
So, John, your split personality, as far as I can tell, writing-wise, is threefold, because you had some academic writing, but then you have gaming writing that goes from writing about gaming to writing actual games.
Yeah.
And then you have your fiction career. So let's talk about the gaming, John Frater, for a minute.
Yeah. Gaming for me has been going on for a very long time. I started with AD&D when I was 12. I bought the box set at the Complete Strategist, which is the giant Midtown Manhattan gaming store that of national renown. If they don't know what the Strategist is, they were born too late. Let's see. And we had, in college, we had weekly game sessions going on all the time. And at the time, we were also producing a very, very limited run small magazine called Gateways. And Gateways was all about, we were writing our articles and basically self-publishing them. This was before digital publishing or anything like that. We had access to
A
mimeograph, what's
photocopier
it
and all
called?
that.
Photocopy and
Yep.
everything else. And we would have these parties. You lay out all the pages. Everyone goes on the table. You staple them together. You give them away at local conventions. And yeah,
Yeah. Right.
very much so. And we got better at it to produce some pretty high quality magazines. It did not last the test of time because it was basically a labor of love. It wasn't making any money.
Sure.
We had other things to do. But I learned my writing chops for nonfiction there. So, and I was publishing reviews and articles, mostly game reviews. And one of the game reviews that I spent a lot of time with were the guys at Palladium Books. And so Palladium Books had the RPG rights to produce the Robotech RPG because Robotech was really big at that time and had just been released. And I was really into this, and I'd been talking to these guys, and they mentioned that they were looking for new writers, and so I sent them a bunch of stuff. And and Kevin Sabina basically called me up and says, this is really good. I want you to turn it into a book for us. And that was my first professional sale.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Excellent. And how long did you do gaming related writing for, or are you still doing it?
I still do it, but I stayed out of gaming and just fiction in general for like 20 years because I was focusing on literally everything else. And then my first time I got back into it was when digital publishing was becoming a thing in 2010, 2011. Amazon started opening their doors in 2012, and
TP and all that.
I had years earlier decided that I wanted to write a proper science fiction book. If I was going to do anything, I was going to do that. And so I wrote 3 chapters, and my goddaughter had just been born. And I'm thinking, what's it going to be like 25 or 30 years in the future when she wants to go to the moon? How's that going to be? And so I wrote 3 chapters, put it in a drawer, and forgot about it for 10 years.
Oh, no.
So when I finally figured out, wait a minute, I can do something with this, I pulled the chapters out, wrote a bunch more stuff, went through a horribly lopsided editing and self-editing situation, worked with a developmental editor who is really, really good at what she does. She's done work for DC since.
Okay.
This got self-published as the book Article 9, which I
Mhm.
finally dropped, I think, in 2014, something like that.
Okay.
It's not the it's not the best thing I've written because I've gotten better since, but it was the first complete book I ever actually read. Worked pretty intensively on the research for that one because it turns out that building a space station is something they've known how to do since the early 70s. And the folks at Stanford and the folks at NASA got together, put all their biggest thinkers in a room and said, okay, how do we think about how to colonize space? And they came up with the Ames Stanford report, which gives you a 30-year timeline and a step-by-step instruction guide how to build space stations in order to build solar-powered satellites to beam electric power down to Earth from orbit. And I said, why don't we write something like this? And so I did. That's
Oh,
basically it. I like to have models. I rarely just have an idea popping into my head fully formed. It always comes from some kind of example that I'm looking at and thinking about and obsessing over. So that's where my internal mechanisms end up taking me.
I can
That's
relate to that because I flashed back when you were talking about that. I flashed back to my junior high school, now called middle school, my junior high school days, and I remember a science project that I completely lost my mind on, trying to be ambitious and creative, and thought it was totally possible for me to build a laser.
I can
Yeah,
tell you, not
yeah.
only is it totally possible for a non-professional, to build a laser, but I know a bunch of people who build a hot tub that were powered by lasers at MIT.
I was in Joan of Arc Junior High School on West 93rd Street, and ruby quartz and things like that were not plentiful at those days.
Yeah.
But I was willing to try. Was not it.
I love that just letting the two of you talk just exposes process and exposes the tendencies that the two of you have, which I just can't wait to start asking. However, morality makes me say, John, let's talk about one other of your writing projects so we have a little bit of balance before we jump into process. Your dealer's choice. What would you like to talk about? One other writing project. John.
The
Do, do,
BattleTech
do, do,
books,
do,
BattleTech,
do,
the
do.
Battle Ring books, because I spent a lot of time playing BattleTech and everything else.
Right.
And
So
the
what's the name of
Battle
your
Ring
books?
books came out of, well, the thing is, I wanted to do more Robotech work, and
Right.
I didn't have the opportunity. And the folks at Palladium were doing other projects, and they had other Robotech writers. Jack McKinney had just cranked out all the Robotech novels, like they're in the world. There's like 30 something of them for the original series, and then they wrote five more for the series that was never produced but was scripted out as a pretty decent series. Robotech 2, The Sentinels. And I was thinking, there's a lot of stuff in there that never saw the light of day that should have. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is a blueprint that I know really well. And I'm thinking I can do something like that. And so I wrote these six books and sent them to the guys at Aethon. Aethon liked it enough to publish it anyway. And they've got persistent sales on Amazon, so I'm not going to complain about it. The first book dropped, and some guy gives me a 1-star review and says it's obviously a really crappy ripoff of Robotech. To which I say, no, sir, this is a really good ripoff of Robotech. So stuff it. I did not put that on the website. I didn't have to.
All right.
You don't want to be that petty when you're just starting out with a new publisher, though.
No, no.
It's two trilogies and a box set. The first trilogy is done. The second trilogy ended off at kind of a good resting place. I wasn't sure if I was going to go any further with it. I've got a script for the next three books. The book one I wrote originally, I decided it was going to be a better book two, so I'm writing a brand new book one. I've got the book two. I will come up with a book three at some point in the future. And I've got one. I'm going to call him a super fan because he actually knows who I am. We talk on Facebook on the Facebook chat, and he's asking me, "When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? When am I going to see more of this?"
It's
And I'm
coming.
thinking that's a good question. When am I going to do more of this? So that project is in progress. It does not have a distinct timeline yet. I would like to get at least that new book one finished by the beginning of next quarter, so that I can actually start work on the third book. And this is while developing all the other stuff I'm actually thinking of doing. Athon recently acquired Vault Comics, comic producer, and so I'm thinking of, and I gave a 30-second elevator pitch to one of the owners at Comic Con this past November, and he liked it. He smiled when I was talking about it, and I'm thinking, okay, I actually have to send this guy a proposal.
There you
So
go.
I'm teaching myself how to write comic books now, which means I'm
Well,
going to be talking to Alex at some point
yes.
and
I'm here.
bending his ear as far as I can.
Yep.
This
He's
one's
got
good.
more experience than I do, but yeah, you got to
I'm
jump
working
in
on
there.
sci-fi, so yeah, happy to.
Nice.
Comic book.
Okay.
Nicely done. All right. So I can't stand it no more. There are so many little things that you dropped that I want to pick up on.
We're talk to.
Yeah, you're fascinating. I want to start with your, you mentioned your writing space where it seems like it's one room and you have your place and it was, I guess, your desk and Lara, you have your desk. So this is the part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, that you've been waiting for. How do married couples who both write, how do they coexist without killing
Slitting
each
each
other?
other's throats. Yes.
Yes. So
Occasionally throw cats at each other, but that doesn't happen very
We
often.
throw things. We throw candy at each other sometimes.
face each other or do you face away from each other?
No, we are in a
Sure.
two-family house. So the second floor, which is a complete kitchen and workspace, is what we call the office. And so
Okay.
we both have individual desks that are facing the kitchen. We don't face each other because that would be too
Okay.
weird. Lara's
Okay.
got this fancy privacy screen all around her area. I've just got a ton of books stacked around my area. So I'm surrounded by
He's
books.
building his wall.
Yeah. Eventually it'll fall on top of me and kill me, but that hasn't happened yet.
Keep those insurance payments up there, Lara, just in case.
Is that something that evolved or was planned?
So when we moved into our house, so I said it's a two-family house. We live with family. And so we don't really treat it as a two-family. We just treat it as a house. So the living room is technically downstairs. So the upstairs had an apartment and the apartment had a living room. So we just made that the office. So the office is kind of both of our space and some storage stuff and stuff in storage room.
We have an attic.
And we have an attic. Yeah, the house we own doesn't have a lot of closet space.
Oh.
So we have like bookcases in there. We have boxes in there, and then we have our desks in there. And we don't face. I said we don't face each other, but I can sneak him and look at him and bother him sometime during the day, and stick my tongue out at him, and he does that back to me.
Oh.
But I have no.
That-
I essentially when it's time for me to write, I put on my noise canceling headphones and I ignore everybody.
Oh, okay. All right.
That may be
So
the
do
cat.
you tend to write at the same time?
No, John's a night writer. Haha.
You don't look like
John
Michael.
writes at night.
Anyway.
John, like he writes early in the morning or late at night. And
Okay.
I am like all over the place and I just be like, I'm in the mood to write. And if I can, I'll write. I don't have a set time. I've thought about a long time having a set time, but my brain is too chaotic. And I just say, I give myself, you have to write this amount of words per day and just do it when you can. And just, okay, I feel like writing now. I'm going to write 25 minutes. I'm going to write 10 minutes.
Does that work for you
Thanks.
to get your word count?
Not as much as I want, but I am like, I'm going to have multiple books come out, but they've been already written. So
Right.
I would say if I'm writing a book, it usually takes one a year. I can write about one a year. And I was in a kind of clip when I put the zombie books out where I was putting one out per year, and then the third one got kind of messed up, but I didn't like it, and then I pulled it back, and then I would like to try to like put out one book a year, but I have ADHD, so my writing is like all over the place. I have trouble finishing things where I'm like, oh, new project, new exciting shiny
Squirrel,
project, and I'll work on
squirrel.
Now,
it.
but I'm going to press you on that because you do clearly get stuff done and get stuff published. And when they are done, having been privileged to see a work in progress from you and also to read your finished work, there's a certain polish to it. There's a certain, uh, shall we say, a Lara Frater a voice to it all. So you do have a process that you may paint it as haphazard, but it does get to a forward progress, and you do have an ability to get to finish lines. So how do you get to do that with all the things that you're saying? Oh, this is in my way.
So
How
I
do you
said,
get how do you get to the finish lines?
yeah. So my brain, I said, works oddly. So I said, if my brain is not working, I I will actually. I said I give myself a certain amount of words per day. Like right now, it's at 600. Sometimes it's more. I prefer not to be less, but things
Sure.
happen. Like I
Mhm.
did not write that much on Thanksgiving.
It's okay.
But yeah,
Neither
so
did anybody else.
yeah, so essentially
Yeah,
I have my
that's right.
writing process is what's called I call myself a planster, which is where
Which
I
is
sort of have a plan in my head and I kind of write like a plant, like a
yeah,
Answer. Yeah.
pantser. So essentially what's called where I kind of write the story at its very bare bones and then I flesh it out.
yeah.
And the fleshing out part is always the hardest part.
Oh
Because
yeah,
the bare
yeah.
bones, I can like, because I used to do a NaNoWriMo before their demise, their
Right.
bad demise, and I could write 50,000 word in 1 month, and then
Yeah.
it would take me a year to make that 50,000 words into a novel, something that
It's
makes sense.
there's the quick draft, well, what on Tell a Damn Story we tend to call it the let it suck draft, and then
Yeah,
there's the really good stuff, which is the rewrite, right? And that might
yeah,
be several drafts and all that sort of stuff. But I have seen your process, and I've seen the leaps that your drafts take. So that's my little counter to you kind of trying to say, oh no, but
yeah.
I I I know the quality of your work, so I just
But
want everyone to know.
I think it's important that we see Lara's point of view of herself, because
Oh,
that is absolutely what some writers feel.
oh,
You know,
definitely.
yeah,
For some people, this is going to be a first impression. So I just want everyone to
yeah.
know there is the go to Lara Frater on Amazon, read some of her
Yeah.
books, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So there is that
Yeah,
great
so
stuff that's there.
yeah, I mean, I make a joke that essentially I have a procrastination book, which is a book that I'm not quite ready to release. And if I am, my brain is not working and I can't really do some editing and revision and polishing out the current novel I'm working on, I will go to this procrastination book and write in the procrastination book just like 200 words of like kind of garbage stuff just to say I did some writing.
Just get the
Because
fingers
that
going. Get
happens.
the fingers going.
Yeah,
Cool.
that
Now,
happens a
John,
lot. That's how I got and I'm like, I'm very happy that because procrastination is my art form. Like I'm the queen of procrastination. So I am glad that sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like writing, so I'm just gonna work on my procrastination book.
ladies.
You gotta
Procrastination,
tell him, Frater.
procrastination book, or How I Beat the Bomb. Now, Chris, I just need to play clock watcher to a little bit. So I know that you have a few more things you want to go to. Just want to bring it up.
Yes. Thanks.
That's
So,
what I'm here.
John, let's talk about your process because you've dropped all this research just in casual conversation. But we went through Lara's process. What's your writing process?
I'm all over the place.
Kinetic household.
I don't want to take half an hour to explain how I do stuff,
Okay.
but with me, cranking out 1,000 words a day is a sustainable pace, and I've been able to stay that way for most of a year. And so a book is about 80,000 to 100,000 words. That's 3 books a year. That's my goal. That's my pace. That's what I can do. And I've been doing it the past 2 years, so I know I can maintain it. But Beyond that, I go through fits and starts. I'm always tinkering with my process. I'm always tinkering with my tools, with my reading material, with my note taking skills, because I've gone through half the different writing platforms. I used to be a total Scrivener freak, and then I was a total, Office Libre guy, and now I'm just sticking to Word. But I use Atticus for my planning, plotting, and everything else. So that gets exported into Word, and then I do the actual cleanup. And the thing is, Libby Hawker wrote a book years ago titled "Take Off Your Pants." And the thing is, I hadn't really been much of a plot person before then, but she lays out a system that you can use to make sure everything actually falls into place before you actually start writing. That's been incredibly helpful to me, and
What
I
is
would
her
recommend
name?
that book for everybody. Libby Hawker,
Take off your
Libby
pants.
Hawker.
Take Off Your Pants. I had that formatting recipe to work with, things got a lot easier to figure out. I didn't
Excellent.
have to spend quite so much time messing around with ideas that were not fully formed.
Libby Hawker, take off your pants. And I'm gonna, as soon as this episode's finished, I'm gonna go and
And take
tell
off your
Glorious
pants.
that John Frater told me to take off my pants. All right, so
You're going to have to
so
explain it to the police while you listen.
that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Or not.
Look.
Yes.
So let's talk about your interaction. I mean, of course, you have the relationship, husband and wife, and all that. But what is your interaction as writers that are married to each other? How does that work? That's the original thing I wanted to get to. And all of this has been building. So let's talk.
You want to bring up the fact that John Scalzi went on his blog, declared that two writers should never marry each other because they'll just make each other miserable all the time.
Do you think that's true for you two?
I don't think that's true for us. It may well be true for others.
I think it helps that I'm a horror writer who writes a little bit of sci-fi, and John's a sci-fi writer that writes a little bit of horror.
We stay out of each other's play
Yeah,
spaces.
but we're
So,
also each other's biggest fans.
yes.
Ah,
And we are always available to throw ideas against each other. So that
Yeah.
that actually helps a lot because you've always, even if you don't have a beta reader group on the spot, you've already got a beta reader, someone who knows how you how you think
yeah,
and how they think.
So if you can't find beta readers, guess what, spouse? You're my beta reader.
Hello, spouse. I mean, is it a situation where over breakfast you're like, I'm thinking about, killing that gropey guy, and over coffee, or you're at the supermarket together and you say, I was thinking about this cliffhanger. Does it come up that often, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, it does. I think me more than him, but I've beta read some of his stuff. He has a bunch of beta readers for his stuff. I actually had a fun because I had a bunch of beta readers for my zombie books, and and then I said, "Oh, I'm writing Paranormal Pest Control," and they're like, "Well, we can deal with zombies, but we can't deal with bugs." Yeah.
That's actually the wackiest part of that book because when at the Queen's independent fiction thing a few weeks ago,
New York City, yeah,
that cover got a lot of attention, but it was always the same thing. People would pick it up, smile, turn it over, read the back, and get this look on their face, and then put it back down.
Which one? Paranormal Pest Control?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I got to tell all those people they missed an opportunity because it's a really fun book. It really is.
We sold a bunch of them.
I did sell a bunch, but I was surprised what sold was Miss Davis. Everyone took the
Oh,
Miss
yeah?
Davis.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That did well.
Yeah. Like one or two people bought the zombie books, but yeah. No, but like we also do like if I see like any kind of writing event or he sees something, we kind of drag each other to it. So they just started a shut up and write thing not that far from us. So I'm like, we're going like every other week, so we have to kind of push each other to go. Like, oh, it's because it's a Sunday morning, and I'm like, he'll push me, and I'll push him to go. And every time we're in Vermont, we go to like a coffee place, and we just sit there and write.
Yeah.
So we kind of push each other like this is writing. And also, if I see John is in writing, I'll try not to bother him.
Okay.
Once when I was making dinner, I just sort of stopped and had this look on my face. And she goes over and says, "You're plotting, aren't you?"
I don't know if you're familiar with Shut Up and Write. The whole thing is that you meet and for 1 hour you just sit and write. You don't talk. And I'm sitting in the hour. I'm doing my writing, and he just turns to me. He's like, "What was it? What's a fancy name for a girl?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Emily." Just do a name holder.
Yeah, yeah. So that now
Well,
when you on the, I know you have different schedules, but on those occasions that you're both writing at the same time, which one of you will ask a question like that to the other more often? For a girl,
Oh,
that
okay.
kind,
I don't know. I think me probably.
you know.
I mean, occasionally also like I'll write a really funny line and I'll just like text it to him. Like I just wrote this line, isn't it great?
You text stuff to each other about your writing. That's fun, right? That's like, because you're not
Well,
technically interrupting him audibly, right?
Yeah, I have a friend who used to do a web comic, and she did one where you just see my character typing, and then you just see his character typing. She did it loosely based on her friends.
Right.
She did he's typing, I'm typing, and then they're typing like it's like we're texting each other, and then the next move is they're essentially in the same room next to each other.
Right. That's great.
I, I just wanted to ask again, you've written separately.
We have
Did
not
I miss it,
collaborated
or
on that
have you?
sequence that you're going to ask.
Now we have not collaborated ever
Why?
because he writes sci-fi and I write horror.
Probably the
And the
best
twinning?
answer I can give you is that the right idea has not occurred to both of us at the same time.
Okay. See, that one I can
Yeah.
go for.
And I know it's weird. I'm kind of a little bit not a collaborator always. I've not been, because the problem is, I said, Charles Baruch was like, let's collaborate on this story then that you just wrote 30,000 words without my input at all. So I'm like, yeah.
That's the best way I can do it.
Yeah. My collaboration is as I will write the story if you can revise it, and then that's my collaboration.
Alex, how many more questions do we have?
I only have one.
Questions you have? You do one, and
Yeah.
you do the one question, and then I have the final question.
Okay. So I was going to say that I've collaborated with a person who Chris knows who I'm thinking of, and we would do alternating chapters. So we would agree on the outline and then agree, of course, character development, at least a perception of where it's going to go, what's the journey going to be. And then we would do alternating chapters. He'd hand me his chapter and I'd pick up from where he left off, and we'd write the whole thing, and then he would do a sweeping edit, and then I would go through, and I tend to focus more on the dialogue, where he was really good. He's good at both, but he was really good on the descriptives. So that was our way of blending. And we had this sort of, I don't know, hive mindset about that particular thing. We both love mystery, so it would work. But there are other people where there was an ego or they really just didn't want to do it. And so it didn't quite work. So I was just curious how you two had approached that. And I think what you just said, Laura, is very honest. You know, it's not a thing for you.
I'm not against collaboration. I'm not also used to it because I really don't. I'm used to just writing on my own and just, I don't mind if someone wants to take, but I don't mind doing like, because I think the project I was doing, like it was supposed to be 3 books and it was 2 characters and each of us would take a character. So I made my character and he was supposed to make his character. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. And then John said also the right project hasn't come up. So down the
Yeah.
road, who
Yeah.
knows?
What I ended up doing with Amy DeBuff earlier this year because it's her universe, so it's her rules, and my job is actually to make everything work. So I would turn in the book, she would go through it to pick out all the inconsistencies, all the rules that I broke, do some editing on top of that, and then we would come up with a finalized version, and that's how we worked for 3 books. So
Yeah.
that sort of process works well for me. I don't do a lot of collaborative stuff though.
That's fine. It's just a curiosity.
Don't really collaborate on his Blackjack, but we've both written Blackjack, and it's
Right.
his character, right? So when or in the early days, he would have to be very careful because I didn't have the nuances down, so he would rewrite a lot of that stuff. But now we'll talk about ideas, and he'll write a story, and I'll write a story, or I'll say, "Listen, let me do, I'll do this draft, and then you go through it, or I'll do this chapter, you do that chapter." And the final word is always Alex's. Like you said, it's his playground. And just like AK it's her playground. I do
mean,
have a final question. Go ahead,
Sorry,
please.
one more. The closest we got to collaboration is there was a series that, remember, it was Kindle Worlds, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was a series. It didn't work out because Kindle Worlds just went away. But it was supposed to be like the main story, and then John was going to have a sub story, and then I was going to write a short story in that same universe. I have the short story, but I had to change it to be a little bit different. But that was kind of like about as close to collaboration. I think our collaboration really is I'll read his stuff and give him feedback, and he'll read my stuff and give me feedback.
And you trust each other with that, and that's great.
And that brings us to the final question. That was a great, you set me up really well, Lara. Thank you. Okay, so this is one question, but John, you're going to answer it, and then Lara, you're going to answer it. Okay. So, John, I want you to recommend one of Lara's works, and Lara, I want you to recommend one of John's works.
Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with any of Lara's books because she's
the
really
perfect answer.
She's really good at what she does. From the ones I've read, and I'm embarrassed to say I haven't read a lot of them, the end of the line books are really solid zombie stories if you're into that sort of thing. The characters are really three-dimensional. The action is not difficult to follow, and the world is interesting. It's not easy to make an apocalypse story like that interesting, but she does it really well.
Cool. I actually have one of those here. That's on at the top of my TBR. So there you go. All right, Lara, it's your turn.
Okay, so again, embarrassing. I have not read all of his stuff, and I probably should.
So many robots. Oh my god.
Yeah, so many robots. Why so many robots?
So little time.
As a horror reader and writer, I like the apocalypse books, especially with Green Street.
Green Street was the second one. Did you read?
What's the first one?
First one is The Tastemakers.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's The Tastemakers is the first apocalypse books, and I loved it. And I thought it was both serious and hilarious. I mean, there was Nagas, there's zombies that have there's knives that turn you into zombies, and people become slicers. It was both funny and good, and it takes place in New York City, so I know the location, and I think it's a really good series, and I think John needs to promote it more.
Yeah, he needs to write a third book in that series. That's what John needs to do.
What's the name of the series?
It's the NYC X-Pocalypse.
X-Pocalypse.
It's spelled exactly like it sounds.
There you go.
Book one is Tastemakers. That's what Lara's mentioning. The second book is called Green Streets.
Excellent.
Same universe, same characters. Green Streets opens where Tastemakers ends.
I want to thank both of you. The single most unique episode we've had so far. The dynamic has been fantastic all the way through. And it was really fascinating. I pitched this idea to Alex and confessed to him that I had no idea how it would go. And it took till it was a journey worth taking. So there you have, ladies and gentlemen, it can happen. You can have writers under the same roof. You can have them betrothed. You can have them in a loving relationship and still be writers, and they won't have an X-pocalypse. Yes, it'll be in print, though. There you go, ladies.
Yeah, he has the X-pocalypse. I have the apocalypse.
That's right. See? So that's how you got to go. You got to put it out in print, and then you can buy them. Lara, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all your thoughts today. Alex, it's always an honor to be with you.
Absolutely a pleasure, and a pleasure meeting John and Lara.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having us.
It's been a ton of fun.
Say goodbye to your security people for us too.
The cats, there are the cats. There are the cats.
One was sleeping here and one was sleeping here.
They got you covered on both. Good security. You got the left, I got the right.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just great to see everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.